Why the U.S. Navy aircraft carrier is the safest place during the war. The American military's trademark expression of might is the large deck aircraft carriers that are fueled by nuclear energy. For months at a time, they make it possible for United States military personnel to launch devastating air attacks on opposing forces on land or at sea, and they do it with pinpoint accuracy, hitting hundreds of targets. They are also not dependent on having access to bases on land to carry out their duties, in contrast to other types of warfare systems. It is not necessary to rely on nuclear weapons to deter aggressors because the terrible strength of the United States aircraft carriers makes them a powerful instrument. As long-range anti-ship missiles continue to spread around the world, however, it is a recurring theme among military strategists that our carriers are growing more susceptible. One of the most reputable journalists covering the military, Sidney Freedberg, stated in a budget analysis published on March 12 that Beijing's growing arsenal of precision-guided missiles seems increasingly able to find and cripple a 1,000-foot-long flat-top. Freedberg is a member of Breaking Defense, which is regarded for its coverage of the military. United States aircraft carriers are, without a shadow of a question, enormous. Their flight decks are over 4 square acres in size, and in addition to being over 1,000 feet in length, they are as tall as a major office building. They have 25 decks. Leaders in the Navy, on the other hand, think that carriers are more resilient than they were during the Cold War and are gradually becoming less susceptible to assault. After taking into account all of the measures that have been taken to ensure the safety of the 10 aircraft carriers that are now in operation within the United States fleet, it is simple to conclude that they could be the most secure place to seek sanctuary in the event of a major conflict. Take a look at these 10 reasons why. Always on the go are carriers that have been deployed. The speed at which they are moving is so rapid that they can outrun the majority of submarines. Nimitz-class carriers, which are currently in use, can maintain speeds of 35 miles per hour, which enables them to go to any location within a 700-square-mile region in 30 minutes. In just 90 minutes, that region expands to encompass more than 6,000 square miles. Finding a carrier is not the same thing for foes as successfully attacking it. Thus, it is important to keep that in mind. By the time their weapons reach, likely it will already be gone. Carriers in the United States have an infinite range. A nuclear propulsion system enables the Nimitz-class carriers and the Ford-class ships that will eventually replace them to have a limitless range of operation, despite their enormous size. If fuel tankers that are supplying the remainder of the fleet are intercepted, their operations will not be compromised in any way. Under the influence of nuclear power, the carriers can carry out deceptive maneuvers in any direction, and for any length of time, which is well outside the range of the majority of enemy forces that are attempting to locate them. Carrier air wings can eliminate adversary combat systems before they ever come close to the carrier. Numerous F/A-18 and F-35 fighters, each of which is outfitted with advanced sensors and precision-guided weaponry, are typically housed under a carrier air wing, CAW. A Growler electronic warfare aircraft that is capable of blocking enemy radar and communications will also be included in this system. Radar planes that can detect dangers hundreds of miles away will also be included. These airframes can intercept attackers well before they come inside the range of a carrier, which is a significant advantage over the forces that they will be confronting. Other beneficial assets are incorporated into the network of carrier sensors. To unite all of its dispersed warfighting capabilities into a single integrated network, the Navy has spent decades trying to figure out how to do so. When it comes to detecting threats, deployed carriers will not only rely on their organic sensors, they will also receive continuous information from surface and undersea warships, as well as from manned and unmanned aircraft, and even from reconnaissance satellites in orbit within the atmosphere. In addition to having a comprehensive awareness of potential threats, the carrier will also be able to employ armaments on faraway warships to protect itself against threats that may be beyond the capabilities of its onboard equipment. Carriers are never deployed by themselves. U.S. carriers never deploy without escorts, regardless of whether they are proceeding to the Western Pacific, the Persian Gulf, or the North Sea. In addition to nuclear-powered attack submarines that are unparalleled in their capacity to locate and destroy adversary vessels on or below the surface of the ocean, these contain several surface combatants that were outfitted with the most cutting-edge air and missile defenses in the world. To improve the surface warships, a new generation of weaponry that is capable of intercepting threats from above is being installed, as well as a radar that is 100 times more powerful than the system that was previously in place. To maintain a competitive advantage over other submarines, such as those used by the Russian Navy, the submarines undergo constant improvement. To provide comprehensive security, carrier defenses are constructed in layers. By arranging their defensive perimeters in layers that extend hundreds of miles, carrier strike groups ensure that any adversary who attempts to get inside the range of their targets must first overcome several obstacles. All hostile missiles, manned airplanes, submarines, and any other system that could pose a threat are included in this category. No layers in layered defense need to be flawless to provide enough protection for the carrier. It is conceivable that the number of successful penetrators, 2 times 2, would be less than 1 in 100 if, for example, each of the 3 levels were around 80% effective. The sinking of carriers is extremely unlikely to occur. As a result of their enormous size, aircraft carriers operated by the United States Navy are equipped with hundreds of watertight compartments. The electrical wiring is one of the key onboard systems that has been designed with redundancy, and they also have thousands of tons of armoring. Therefore, a single weapon that has the potential to break through multi-layered protection is not likely to cause significant damage to the carrier. It is quite likely that the crew will be able to continue carrying out their task despite any damage that may be sustained, and the vessel will not sink altogether. Even though some analysts believe that the size of the carrier renders it susceptible to attack, the fact is that it is more resistant to assault than any other warship. A significant number of onboard defenses are present in carriers. Each carrier is outfitted with active defenses, which include multiple air defense radars, surface-to-air missiles, automated guns for dealing with sea-skimming threats, electronic warfare systems for deceiving the sensors and disrupting the command links of incoming threats, and an anti-torpedo system. These active defenses are in addition to the passive defenses that were briefly mentioned in the previous paragraph. The United States Navy has decided to phase out the anti-torpedo system. Nonetheless, the other organic defensive systems that are installed on United States carriers are diversified and quite powerful. Secrecy makes it more difficult to prepare for attacks. According to those with knowledge of the Navy, many of the defensive mechanisms that are integrated into United States carriers are never divulged to the general public. In light of this, any strategy that involves attacking a carrier requires some degree of speculation regarding the possible countermeasures that will need to be overcome. When it comes to penetrating the carrier, aggressors are sometimes discouraged from even attempting to do so, since they are loaded with a large number of potential criteria. Added defensive benefits will be included in the Ford class of aircraft carriers, when compared to the already powerful Nimitz class, which is the fleet that is already in operation. The new generation of aircraft carriers that the Navy has been receiving offers even more superior protection. The Ford class, for example, will supply more than 600 megawatts of electricity to run the sensors, networks, and combat systems that are located on board this aircraft. The additional power may one day make it easier to install high-power lasers, electromagnetic railguns, and other bizarre weapons that adversaries do not have any countermeasures for at the moment. That being said, the risk of losing one of America's large-deck, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers to hostile action is relatively low and is decreasing. This is even though no one should question the sacrifices that sailors and aviators make while serving aboard these aircraft carriers. Thank you so much for watching. Please share your ideas and outcomes in the comment box below. Don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe to our channel for more incredible videos like this one.